You are watching We All Be News Radio, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm Thaddeus Matthews.
We All Be is honored to have on the one and only, the eighth wonder of the world, the media sensation, legend extraordinaire, one of the best investigative journalists on the scene today, representing the M-Town, the city of Good Abode, the one and only, the God made only one of a kind, Brother Thaddeus Matthews. How you doing today?
Brother, that's a whole lot of stuff that you put in front of me now.
So. You earned all of that, man. And I just want to get started because people know you, they classify you as a shock jock, but I value you as an investigative journalist. And I want to know how you got started in the business.
Radio was quite an accident. Radio was not something that I had planned to do. 1985. I think I was 20 some years old, 26, maybe about 26, 25, 26 years of age, and I was needing a job. I had always been in sales. Mm-hmm. So this radio station had just come to Memphis. That was a blues and gospel radio station, WXSS, guy by the name of Purvis Spann out of Chicago, who owns WVON. Come into Memphis, put this radio station on the air, and I was listening to the station, and they were soliciting salespeople. So I went to work at the station as a salesperson, but I'd always walk by the control room. And there was a guy on in the morning. The station was a blues and gospel station. Being in church all of my life, I knew gospel music. So I kept on saying, I can do that. And the guy's name was Brother Perry. He was an older guy with a jerry curl. And Brother Perry would lay back and the legs be cocked up on the board. And now we're going back to the days when broadcast boards had knobs, not the slides like now. They had the old turning dials. I said, man, I can do that. And he was getting all the women, boy. He was just laying back with his jerry curl. He was an old guy too. Jerry curl falling and greasy and laying there playing the gospel. So I said, I want to do that. So I went to the owners. It was a small radio station that was very money oriented. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want to do that. I want his job. So they told me, they said, well, if you sell $5,000 worth of advertising, you can have his job. Now, they probably thought I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. So I went out and I sold $5,000 worth of advertising. They fired him, gave me his job. And I guess the rest is just history.
Oh, wow. So how did you discover you had this voice for the people to make people inspired or pissed off or anything? How did you discover this voice you had?
That was not planned either. Okay, you know, what you see on the air, what you hear on the air, is actually me. Mm. So, if it's actually me, there's nothing else I can be but me. Mm. Starting from 1973, led the first walkout in the busing series. I was a member of an organization called Acorn, where it was a community organization where I was very vocal on issues that were going on in the community. So it's always been a thing. How I got into talk radio, I was at WXSS. I was a young married man with baby at the time, and I needed some more money. Mm-hmm. So there was another radio station in Militant. Call letters at that time was WMPS, okay? WMPS. So a guy had put that station on there out in Militant, advertising for talk shows. Never done talk. So I was working from 9 to 5 at SS, and I left. I would leave there. I got hired there. You know, I was the only black, so I was the token. I was, and I would work there from 6 in the evening to 12 midnight of talking. And I just got on there and I talked. I gave my opinions. I gave my views. I pissed a whole lot of folk out, especially white folk. And you know, I guess that's how I got into it. I'm highly opinionated, and I guess my views are somewhat controversial, but I believe that we all take a stand. What happens a lot of time in media, and especially black media, in corporate black media, is that black personalities on radio have a fear of being honest and saying what really needs to be said because of the corporate structure does not allow truth and honesty and realness to go across the airwaves. And since I've been independent most of my career in broadcasting, I said what I want to say.
So how do you keep yourself on the air? I mean, you're going against the establishment, you're going against the corporate culture. How do you stay on the air? How do you stay so relevant all these years?
How do I stay relevant? I probably hold the record of being on more radio stations than anybody. I found out a long time ago I could not work for radio stations because I don't fall into the corporate brand. I am a brand. Then I found out that the real way to make business, because I'm an entrepreneur, okay? Not an entrepreneur, but I'm an entrepreneur. I believe in economic empowerment. I looked at how radio makes its money. Radio makes its money off of advertising. There were radio stations, and even like TV now, that will sell you a block of time. I buy the time, I sell the advertising. I sell enough advertising to pay for my broadcast and then to live out of as well.
Oh wow, so you basically created your own business model.
I created my own business model. You know, I can remember the days back when Joe Louis Jones, aka Bobby OJ, would get on there and they would talk about me. Thaddeus Matthews has to pay to be on the radio. I said, now listen to this fool. Here's a fool that won't even use his own name, the name that his mama gave him. You go and steal your name from a disc jockey that's a legend out of Ohio. Same guy that the OJs took their name from. And you don't understand that the white man pays you $150,000 a year to be a good nigga. To say exactly what they tell you you can and cannot say. Here I am, a free man, making much more than $150,000 a year, doing my own business. We don't understand many times, especially in the broadcast industry, of creating your own business. You may not own the radio station or the broadcast facility, but you can still make money and get truth out there. Now, I've been kicked off some radio stations because of truth. But I always rise again.
So what lesson do you want to instill in people who are starting out in any type of business? What will you give them?
That failure comes, but you persevere. Working for yourself is the hardest job in the world, but the satisfaction comes in, that is yours. I don't have to get up until I get ready in the morning times. I don't have to ask the white man or the black man or the blue man, can I take a pee break, boss? You know, I come and go as I please, but the satisfaction is that every day when I go and sit in front of that camera is that Thaddeus Matthews can say whatever the hell he wants to say, and I don't give a damn how you feel about it, as long as what I'm saying can be substantiated, it can be documented, and I go from there.
What about like following your passion? It's like you're a very, not only opinionated person, but also a very passionate person. Does it work to follow your passion when you want to start a business or?
Man, you find out what in life it is that you do, and you do well. I think that it was predestined for me to do what I do. I think that every generation has its Moses. Not that I call myself a Moses, not that I call myself some civil rights leader. But I think that, like I've been on this week, on this thing about black men.
Right. You really like, you're a blues man. I know you promote blues and all that stuff. And you also, I mean, how do you get into that? Like, promote
Got into the blues?
concert? Yeah.
I got into blues quite by accident.
Okay.
I did. I mean, all of this stuff is nothing that I planned. I never planned to play the blues. I was just, you know, I'd been brought up in the church, Baptist preacher. I had no plans to ever play the blues. Where Flynn Broadcasting is, back in 1992, I had that building. I had an LMA, or a lease management agreement, on that particular station. And I wasn't as smart then as I am now in the business. I was paying this guy, what was I paying? About $5,000, $6,000 a month for 24 hours a day of broadcasting. So I had some employees, and one particular week my money was short. And my blues guy, which was Captain Curtis Lee, and in later years Cap came back to work for me. In fact, when Cap died, the last radio station he worked for was for me. But Cap didn't show up because I didn't have his money. And I had Boss Ugly Bob at that time, came on in the latter part of the day. So I did the gospel show. And now it's time for the blues. So, what do? I go on there, I got all the blues CDs set up, and I just started playing. I started playing the blues, saying, look, the preacher finna play the blues this morning, da-da-da-da, and I was picking it. I said, hell, I'm pretty good at this, okay? And it really grew from that. Now, there's nobody that plays the blues better than I do.
Okay, already. You were talking about you taking over doing blues?
Yeah, and from that particular point of having and being forced into playing blues that morning, I started making myself acquainted with the blues. And I learned another business aspect. I learned that if you have a business or you own a business, there's nothing about your business that you should not know. Okay, you need to know every facet of the business that you own or you're operating, so that if an employee does not show up, or an employee gets mad or gets sick, hell, if the employee dies, you're able to keep on moving. And that was a very pivotal point for me, because not only did it force me to do something new, but it gave me a new aspect of how to keep business flowing.
Wow. So how do you get from doing blues shows on the radio to doing blues concerts, like promoting and actually putting together blues?
Well, I had a blues radio station. So when I took over WPLX radio, AM 1180 a few years ago, one of the things I found out is that there are artists out there that have to do shows, and that I had a radio station where I did not have to pay for the advertising, so I could make money off of it, because I didn't have to spend money for advertising, because the station was widely listened to, because the talk show was on, and from 3 to 6 in the afternoon, or 3 to 5 in the afternoon with the talk show, I dominated the market with the Thaddeus Matthews show on the radio. So we had a large audience. So you took that same audience that listened to the blues, listened to the talk show, and we start filling up venues around town, giving artists the opportunity to make money for themselves and to make money for me.
That's excellent. And what was like the biggest thing you had to learn about that? What was the biggest learning curve for you in terms of dealing with the concerts, the actual live shows?
That you can lose your ass if you're not careful. Okay, and here's the thing that a lot of people go to concerts. You see the people there.
Right.
You count the ticket price and you say, he made a lot of money. But what you don't understand is the flip side of that, the expenses of the show, the expenses of the artists. And some of these artists have ridiculous riders, especially when you get beyond the blues and you get into your other major artists. You've got to have, I remember a guy had on a rider that he had to have, what was it, Skittles but he didn't want no yellow Skittles in the Skittles. So hell, you had to go and pick out the yellow Skittles. And see, those are people that I would not hire. Okay, I remember a blues artist here, and he's dead now. And so I ain't gonna call his name. I don't want to speak ill of the dead. But I was trying to book him. They wanted $10,000 for him in Memphis, and he lived in Memphis. But you had to rent naturally you got to rent the sound, your backline. That's normal. But you had to rent all the musical equipment, the trumpets and the guitars and the amplifiers. So they said that, I said, hell, you mean to tell me you got a band and they ain't got no guitars? So naturally, they did not get the gig. But there's a lot of expenses that go. When people look at these major shows, they go to Ladders, they go to the Orpheum, you've got so much expense in it because, first of all, you got to use the union labor. Okay, you can't bring your own folk in to put things together. You've got to have, excuse me, when you go into those type venues, you've got to have X numbers of liability, insurance, you got airplane fees, you got hotel fees. So there's a lot that can eat up the money that you make in a concert.
So what keeps you doing these type of concerts? What keeps you going? Like,
I'm dealing in the blues, and I have not did a major blues show in probably the last couple of years. One of the problems I find that all the best blues singers that you can make money off of, hell, they dead.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then. I mean, you know, as we all know that B.B. King passed away recently. And I just wonder, have you ever met B.B. King, by the way?
I met him once.
Met him once?
Yeah,
Can you recall, like, where you remember the...
I met him at WXSS. WXSS was owned by a legendary blues shop, in Purvis Spann, who's still alive. He's elderly now. His daughter's running WVON in Chicago. And Purvis did he was the one that taught me a lot about promoting. Him and Little Milton. The first show I ever did was with Little Milton Campbell.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And Milton took me up under his wings.
Yeah, I was talking about your time like Chicago radio. We talked about B.B. King, like the time you had.
Yeah, I met B.B. King at WXSS. He came through to see Purvis Spann, and we were getting ready to do what was called the International Blues Festival, which was in Chicago at the Regal Theater on that Friday night. It was going to be here in Memphis. BB was not on the show, but he happened to be in town, and B.B. King was here. Well, he came by the station to see Purvis, because Purvis had been a major blues promoter for many years. He was probably the first major blues promoter, having a radio station in Chicago where you had Little Milton, you had Tyrone, and all those guys living. You know, so he kind of manufactured what blues booking was all about and blues promoting was all about. So I did have opportunity to sit and chat with him for a while at the station.
Wow. So what was your thoughts about B.B. King as a person then?
Well, I mean, at that time, I thought about him like I think about all blues artists. You know, when you use that word legend, and that he was. I mean, he surpassed most guys in this business on the national front and international front. He did something to the blues that most blues artists and recording artists never get the opportunity to do. I thought of him in the capacity that this is one of the great ones. Great guitarist, great singer, and how you tell a guy is great that your songs last forever. When you know, Thrill is gone and things like that. You know, you go back and you think about the late Albert King. I'll Play the Blues for You, and all of those type songs who stay in your mind, stay hits forever. Yeah.
That's cool, but you know, I noticed something that he could never play and sing at the same time. B.B. King could never play his guitar and sing at the same time.
Yeah, well, most times, now that you think about that, now that you said, brother, okay.
So you think like, what is it about? Because you know, there's so many of them. Like, you know, Bobby Blue Bland passed away. His friend, just a couple years ago. Right. So what makes him out like that? The great.
What makes you great is, first of all, you're not a one-hit wonder.
Okay.
Okay? The older guys had longevity because they recorded good music. They recorded songs with substance. Whether it was a song about how much you love a woman or how bad the woman then treats you. Bobby Blue Bland's "If You're Gonna Walk on My Love, Then Take Off Your Shoes."
Right.
Okay? Songs like that, songs that have meaning to them, that everyday people can say, hey, that song hits me, that song fits me. That's what makes a legend. Songs like that. Members Only by Bobby Blue Bland. Those type of songs live forever. You get some of the young cats that come along that don't know whether they want to be blues artists or R&B artists. They want to be major R&B, but they haven't been able to hit that genre. So I'm gonna sing the blues, and I'll make it sound contemporary and in between both of them, and maybe something will hit. But guys like B.B. King, Tyrone Davis, Bobby Blue Bland, Johnny Taylor, those guys, Lil Milton, those guys will live forever as far as airplay is concerned.
Now I want to flip it a little bit, because you said that you never planned to get into some of the things you got into it in your career. Like, how you become such a good investigative journalist? I mean, people go to school for that type of stuff.
I didn't, again. It was the fact that you're on the radio, you're on TV. You talk about the things I talk about, and you've got to be able to back up what you're talking about.
Right.
So you have to do the research. You do the research. I've got good research skills, I guess. Then I have good connections. So I'm able to just, people bring me information. Okay, I dissect it, then I start to dissecting into it to see whether it's factual or whether it's something that you've just made up. And then the more I dig into it, the more intriguing it becomes. I was looking at something, and I'm the only black television or radio personality that has ever made the front cover of the Memphis Flyer. And this was 2003. And I was going through some stuff as I'm getting ready to move, and I found this. I'm gonna frame this politically incorrect, which gave my whole story, my whole life story, back in 2003, as far as my broadcasting and really my personal life as well.
Wow. But I mean, like with you, like you're able to lead stories that a lot of the major networks around here are slowly catching up. 'Cause I remember the Ridgeway coach thing, where the coach got killed, and you don't want to actually break in the story and solved it.
I've broken a lot of stories that mainstream media has attempted to take credit for. But people that listen to me and have watched me when the major stations would come out, breaking news, they knew it was not breaking news because I broke the story. I'm closely monitored by, well, hell, everybody, from the police to news agencies, to see what I'm saying, seeing what I'm doing. And a lot of the stories, and at one time, when I was off air, the major stations would call me to see if I knew what was going on, if I could put them in touch with people. And that was one particular station I did a lot for, and that was Channel 13, WHBQ. There are some stations I don't deal with, period. And the station that I don't deal with, period, is 3. I don't deal with 3 because Channel 3 has never given me a fair shake on their newscast. A lot of things have come up about me over the years that make the news, that some would say are negative. And I tell media, I don't mind you doing your job. I don't mind you telling the story, but at least tell the whole truth. Or allow me to tell my side of it. And 3 has not been fair with me, so I do no interviews. I do nothing with Channel 3. But I did a lot of stuff back in the day under the former general manager for 13.
Wow. So what's your favorite story that you worked on, that you broke and investigated?
I don't know. It's been So many, man. I can't go back and say what my favorite story is. You know, I've been doing this a long time. So to go back and talk about your biggest story, I guess my most controversial piece was the murder on what's that? The murder that took place several years ago. Okay. It was Jesse Dotson. Okay.
Oh yeah.
At that particular situation, where I put the pictures of the dead people.
I remember that.
On my website. Now, that became probably the most controversial story. But here's what happened for me with that. I put it out there. The media, those that did not know who Thaddeus Matthews was, when the media got through with that particular story, everybody in the Mid-South knew who I was.
Right.
There were so many people that hit my website. Nearly 500,000 people hit my website. It crashed. Okay, the same people who said that you shouldn't have put them on there were the same people who went to the website to see the bodies. So I guess that's probably my most controversial piece. I don't know what to go back and say what my biggest story is that everyone followed is hard for me to remember at this time.
You got so many of them, my God, and it's hard to recall, but it shows your value, what you represent. I think that what you do is missing in black media altogether today. In terms of, like, you know, back then they used to have a race beat where the black newspapers used to cover things that's happening, but right now a lot of things are happening to black folks around the country and around the planet. It's not being properly monitored by so-called black news organizations, but you are a black news organization.
But what other black news organization do you have in Memphis? You have the Tri-State Defender. And when you get past the Tri-State Defender, you only have me.
Right.
Okay. There are no black news organizations or black independent voices on the air. I'm the only black independent voice on the air that's doing anything on a daily and a continuous basis. And my audience is large. My audience is very large, is very vast. God has given me favor with that. And I just enjoy doing what I do. But you'd be surprised at the large number of whites that tune in to me as well as blacks. A lot of times I'm walking downtown or I'm in the courthouse, and I stay in the courthouse a lot. They'll say, I sure enjoyed your program. I say, you don't have to hide.
Right.
You know, but the white audience understands that I do have influence. They do understand that I do my homework and that I have my fingers on the pulse of this community, and especially in the black community. And I say the things about black people that white people really want to say, but they can't get away with saying it. So the audience becomes a large audience because you want to know what Thaddeus Matthews is going to say tonight. I might not even like Thaddeus Matthews. I think he's a clown. I think he's a buffoon. I think he's a racist. But I got to listen to him. And that's all I want you to do from 7 to 9 each night anyway. Just tune in.
But also people don't know too that I started to figure out just listening to you that you're ordained minister, correct?
Yeah.
But you bash, when people say you bash and you criticize the church establishment. Because we in the Bible Belt, right? But people criticize you for going after pastors and what some people call nigger preachers. So, I mean, what is your take on that?
Well, being in church all my life and pastoring for a long time, I've been in ministry for over 40 years. Okay? So I know the tricks of the pulpit. Okay? I've been in the back rooms. I've seen how the money is handled. And one of the biggest things that has hindered black folk is the black church. See, the black church has taught you to wait to buy and buy when the morning comes, and you ain't supposed to have no things till you get to heaven. Hell, you gotta die first. Okay? We have not taught our people of the black presence in the church. We have not even taught black folk where the term missionary Baptist church comes from. And you'll notice only the missionary Baptist church is used with black church.
Yeah.
It was because you were the white Christians, you were their mission. And the first black preacher that was not called by Jesus. He was called by that white man because that nigger preacher could not read. So here, nigga, this is what I want you to read. This is what I want you to say. And I want you to let the slaves know that me as your master, I'm the same as your God. See this nice blonde hair I got. See these blue eyes I got. I'm just like God. And if you're going to worship God, you got to worship me. That type of suppression is what kept slavery going. You do know that the first slave ship was called the good ship Jesus.
That's right.
When we came from the Ivory Coast of Africa. And one of the things that Christians, the so-called Christian, and I don't call myself Christian, I call myself spiritual, because Jesus never told you to be a Christian. Okay? Then you go back and you check your history, his name could not have been Jesus. 2015 years ago, because there was no letter J in the Greek or the Hebrew language. The name that was used then was Yahshua. But I'll accept Jesus. In the translation that King James gave you, the homosexual who created his version of the Bible and left a lot of books out called the Apocrypha, he left those books out of the Bible and gave you his version of the Bible. And in his version of the Bible, it puts the black man in a position as all I want to do is shout, holler, roll, and jump. I want to give all of my money to the church. The church, the pastor drives a Bentley, and I got to stand on the bus stop. Hell, that don't make sense to me, man. I mean, hell, what kind of sense is that? You tell me on Sunday morning that the Lord has cattle on 1,000 hills, and I'm eating ramen noodles. I'm a child of the King, but as a child of the King, I can't eat no steak, and he got all these cows on 1,000 hills. Damn, how come I got to serve the EBT card, God? How come I can't get the black card, God, like the white folk got? How come I got to do this? And then how come I got to go to church at 7 o'clock in the morning? I got to be there till 7 o'clock at night. I got to be there for the pastor's day, the children's day, the #1 choir, the missionary choir, the little sissy musicians choir day. And the white folk go and give their little money and then go home, they're out on the lake. So we have been enslaved by theological thought that God has nothing at all to do with. But I ain't gonna get on one of my tangents.
No, but it's important to say that because, like you said, you the only independent black media voice. You paying the cost to be the boss, though. You doing for self. And I look at a lot of religions, especially Judaism. Like I'm going to New York. I go to Williamsburg, and you see a bunch of Jewish people, Hasidic Jews. And I was on a tour bus one time. They're talking about how the Hasidic Jews, they don't go to secular schools, but every corner they had a yellow school bus and their own academy. They control they had a community. They control the economics. They control the education. They control the policing in the community.
But Ron, let me ask you something. What if the black church, and there are over 3,000-4,000 black churches in Memphis and Shelby County. What if each one of those churches gave back 10% of the money that they took in every Sunday and put it into an economic empowerment program for the black community?
That'd be powerful.
Okay?
Yeah.
But that's not happening. Okay? It's not happening. You want to be the biggest preacher. You want to drive your Bentley. You want to talk about how many folk you shouted, how many folk you got in your choir on a Sunday morning, and your folk are living in poverty.
Right.
Okay? And you keep telling your folk, keep living on, you keep trusting in God. Well, the preacher's not trusting in God. That type of preacher that is preaching that, he's not trusting in God. He's trusting on you to come and be a fool each and every Sunday and leave all your money at the church. And when you leave, you can't even go buy a 2-piece at church's chicken. Come on. So is that really what God's want? Brethren, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper. As your soul prosper, your money ought to grow. Your pocket ought to prosper. Ain't no blessing in being poor, brother.
You know what people say? They say money is the root of evil, but it's not money.
It says that the love of money is the root of all evil. And you can love the things that money does, but when money is the factor by which you're motivated totally, okay, then there's where the problem that you can't do nothing for nobody, okay, but you supposed to have some money now. Oh Jesus! I can't go to Memphis like gas and robbery and tell them how much I love the Lord.
Thank you.
When I got 3 cars and they all got good gas tanks on them, I can't pull up at the BP, the Exxon, or the Mapco and say I love Jesus. Fill it up. It takes some money. The Bible says that the poor will be with you always. Well, those are the individuals that ain't gonna get up off their ass in the morning and go and get that money. Okay, I got to get up and go get it. As you've been saying here, you've been seeing folk bringing me because I'm an entrepreneur.
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna sell anything legally that's gonna make some money. They've been coming in getting one of my favorite products in here today.
Yeah, you actually read my mind every time I'm thinking about it. So you actually saying it, and so I appreciate that. I'm in good company. But I also want to ask you this as well, because I'm looking at what's going on. I've been to Ferguson a couple of times doing the summer, doing the Mike Brown thing. Talked to some of the young people there. I'm about to head out to Baltimore next week. And we saw the things that happened on the Exxon thing, the Northwest Prep, with the young people in last year, with the young people at the Kroger's. What is with the black youth in this city? I mean, what is the issue?
Well, here's the thing I've talked about on air just this week. We get concerned when white folk kill us. If black lives matter, it should matter that we're killing each other. Notice in Ferguson, notice in Baltimore that you burn up your own community. Okay? Notice that while you're burning up your own community, where you live and reside, that the police don't do nothing. They let you burn up yours. But you're angry at white folk. But why aren't you going over to where the white folk live and burn up some of theirs? Because if you do, you are going to be slaughtered. I shared with my audience last night, there are 800 prison camps in this country that's totally operational right now. And they says, well, if there's a mass exodus from Mexico, then we'll have all of these places. The largest one is in Alaska that'll hold 2 million persons.
Wow.
No. If we go to war in this country as a race war, we are going to be put into prison camps. Okay? The executive order is already there. It's 21 executive orders that's been in place for over 30 years. All that the president has to do is sign off on it. The attorney general signs the warrant and you can be arrested. They can take over every facet of government. They can take over everything. The government already has that in place. What I'm telling young black men is we've got to out-strategize that. Do you realize, and I had State Representative Touche Parkinson on my show Monday night, that the state of Tennessee has a contract with CCA.
The headquarters in Nashville, right?
The prison system.
Yeah.
To keep the prison system 96% full, okay? Or the state got to pay CCA. Now, if the state of Tennessee has a contract to keep the prisons 96% full, do you think that the state of Tennessee really gives a damn about rehabilitation? Okay? And who is it that is filling up the prison systems, not only in Tennessee, but all over this country? It's young black men.
Right.
We've got to sit down and we've got to talk to our young black men and change the mindset. Bible again, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Nothing can change with our young black male until the mindset changes. But us old dogs, we're going to have to change our mind and not be fearful to go into the community and talk with the guys on the hood. Because I'm amazed, man, okay? I'm amazed when I go down to the ice bar, I go somewhere and I'm on the streets, and young men know who I am. They say, man, you're real. You're the realest dude on TV. You be talking that talk, you crazy, but you real, man. Okay? All our young men want is some real conversation.
Right.
And that's got to be one of the missions of what I do with my show. Yes, I'm there to make money. I ain't got no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Right.
But at the same time, God did not give me the platform that I have and the favor that I have to just make the money. I've got to be a voice for those who are crying in the wilderness, and our people are perishing for the lack of knowledge and the lack of understanding. So our young people, our young girls are going to have to understand that there is a way of life that they have found that is not the right way. We look at our young girls. You've got multiple babies by multiple men. By the time you're 25, 26, 30 years old, we've got to change that. But the mindset must start somewhere. It's not happening at the house, because your mama was a teenage mother, your grandmama, all of these, and we're doing some of everything in front of our children. We've allowed the system to tell us not to discipline our children, but that same system that tells you not to discipline your children will kill your children and incarcerate your children. So we must take over. The black politician has failed us. Right. The black church has failed us, because you want me to hoop and all, run a job and get ready for heaven, and I ain't even ready for right here. You want me to walk golden streets, and it ain't safe for me to walk the streets of Memphis. So again, I'm getting off one of my
Well, actually, you bring a great point, because I'm thinking about what happened 20 years ago with the Clinton crime bill.
Right.
A lot of black politicians. This is like was the CCA and all this. Right. Was going police brutality even to be traced back to that crime bill.
Right.
So what do you think about? Should we keep on voting Democrat then, as black people?
No.
So what should we do politically?
See, here's where black folk make mistakes. See, you get symbolic. Mm-hmm. You want to be traditional. Mm-hmm. The smart person in this thing we call politics, you play both sides. We need to have as much strength and power in the Republican Party as we have in the Democratic Party. How come I got to be with the party of the Pope? Okay.
I don't know poor black Republicans.
Yeah,
I know a lot of poor black Democrats.
Well, the Democrats for the poor people. Hell, I don't want no EBT and Section 8 and no damn Roman noodles. Okay? Hell, I want something that is going to enrich me and empower me. Yes, if we are going to be successful in this game that we call politics, then we must play both sides of the aisle.
All right. That makes sense. And also, you talk about, I know you broke a lot of stories, but becoming the stories, like when you become the story, it makes international headlines. Like liking somebody on Facebook, or either with like trying to be a good Samaritan with the child porn thing, and getting like, you facing like the sentencing coming up on May 26th. I just want to get your thoughts about that aspect.
Which aspect of it?
It's going through like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Well, right? I guess if I was a nobody talk show host, I would make the national headlines.
Yeah, international too, though.
And I've made some international headlines. The situation of 2 years ago, where there was a picture that was circulating of a child that was being sexually molested. Nobody would do anything about it. Parents and some mothers came to me, you need to do something about this. I wasn't even on TV or radio. I was doing internet. I was on the internet radio. Yes, I was on TV. I just started the morning show. Okay, with some people that told me they the ones, after they got paid off, they didn't want nobody as niggerish as me on their show. And I told them that you won't stay on the air 60 days without me. And they didn't. I put the picture up, and it was a bad decision. Okay, it was a bad decision as I look back on it. But the intent was never criminal. It was to save a child. Those charges have been totally dismissed. They charged me with sexual exploitation of a minor, aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, especially aggravated. In fact, they threw everything on the code at me. $100,000 bond that they thought I couldn't get out on. But as I faced May 26th, and I went through the process of the probation hearing and things of that nature and probation company. I just believe, and I'm a man of faith, man. If you're looking there on over my desk, there's a picture that I always talk about, where there's a man that steps off into the abyss, blindfolded, but he believes that he's in the hands of God. And I think that the work that I do, God has his hands all over it. And I still believe that no weapon that is formed against me can prosper. And I just believe that on May 26th, as I walk in, I'll walk out. Probably walk out on probation, but I'll walk out. They dismiss all of those charges, and the district attorney, along with my attorney, Steve Faris, got the charges not reduced. They're not reduced. Those charges are all the way gone.
Right.
Okay. They came up with a new charge, which was tampering with evidence. Okay. Okay. So that's where I stand.
Well, Thaddeus, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us about a little bit about yourself and give people another perspective of who you are, the dimension. Like I said, you're one of my favorite media personalities, but also one of my favorite journalists as well, investigative journalists. So you have any closing words or thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, man, first of all, I want to thank you for this, from your organization, is this Activist Lifetime?
Artivist.
Artivist.
You're an artist and activist.
Okay, Artivist Lifetime Achievement Award. And most times you get your flowers when you die. Right. You know, because I wish I could just be at my funeral and listen to all the lies. Niggas go tell lies. Oh, he was great. Da, 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 da. Right. And they right, I am great. But, they go just build me up. But, man, I appreciate this. And it's a work that those of us in black media, we have a responsibility to. Yes, make your money. Okay? But be true to the game. Be true to the fact that our community is hurting, and somebody has got to stand tall and somebody's got to stand firm, even when everything's against you. You got to still do what you got to do, and that's what I plan to keep on doing. After May 26th, the ball still keeps on rolling. We keep on doing what I need to do for this particular community, and especially the black community. I have people who say often that you talk down a lot about the black community. I said, well, I tell the truth about the black community, and too long we have failed to want to hear the truth, but we can't be free. If what Scripture says is correct, know the truth, and the truth shall make you free or set you free, then I can't give you freedom unless I give you truth, and I want to see you free.
I heard that, brother. And who's your most interesting person you ever met in your life before I go? Most fascinating person or this intriguing person?
The most intriguing person I've ever met?
You can say you. I mean
outside of me. I don't know. You know, it's hard to say. I've met a lot of people. I don't know who I would say, but you know, the people that I find the most intriguing are people that you wouldn't even know their name. Okay?
That's right.
Who have no title, who have no real status in life, that if you see them walking down the street, but if you stop and have a conversation with them, you find out things about life that you never knew. Those are the people that I find intriguing, the common, everyday person. One more scripture and I'm going to let it go. The Bible says, and the common people heard him gladly. What makes Thaddeus Matthews successful, and some have called me this legend and this icon, is not the big shots, because I don't go to the parties, I don't go to the functions, I don't run with any of them, but I hang with the common people. I was at a local Whitehaven club last Sunday night, and people were amazed that Thaddeus Matthews was in this club called Ralph's in the heart of Whitehaven. But that's why I'm most comfortable with the people who have made me successful. And one of the things that some of us as blacks in media make the mistake of is thinking that we're better than the folk that watch us and listen to us. Because without the common man, I would not be the man that I am.
Yes, sir. In the words of Great Duke Elton, we love you madly and keep on producing this and pushing, sir. We really appreciate that.